What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel, cousins. However, this is your first time joining me on today. Welcome to the HoodAstroQ. It's here that we use information from celestial bodies to help us gain a better understanding of our favorite celebrities, world events, but most importantly, our damn selves. So hit the subscribe button to become part of the family, thumbs up this video to grow the channel, and click the notification bell so that way you will be alerted whenever I come on here with a new post. All right. And then finally, if you are interested in booking your very own natal chart reading, be sure to contact me at astrowerld. That's astrowerld at gmail.com. Now, as you can see by the title, today we are going to be going over the most ratchet signs of the zodiac. Yes, everybody knows someone ratchet. Ratchetism, ratchetry knows no race. Okay, it knows no gender really, but most of my demographic are women, so a lot of the way in which I'm going to frame this is going to be targeted towards women. But nonetheless, let's go over some of the most ratchet signs of the zodiac. And it's important that I specify that number one, these are in no particular order. And number two, I am clearly aware of the fact that anyone, quite literally anyone, can be ratchet. But we're talking about the signs that when are ratchet can really take the ratchet behavior to the next level, right? The signs that really come out to play and add a new little zest to ratchetness. You could even say the signs that are most prone towards being ratchet, and when they are ratchet, they just take the cake. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, up first, when talking about some of the biggest ratchets of the zodiac, we have none other than Gemini. Yes, Geminis are some of the most ratchet individuals known to man. Why, you may ask? Geminis lack filters completely, meaning these are the people who are liable to say just about anything. They think it, they say it. And when you think about that stereotypical generalization of what it means to be ratchet, and of course, this could vary from person to person, but just generally speaking, right? A person who just has no couth, a person who just lacks, once again, a filter, a person who doesn't really care when and where they are and how they're presented in certain environments. Geminis absolutely possess this quality about themselves because everything they do is very raw and uncut. And they also tend to have very strong opinions about things. So the ones that are really ratchet, I mean, you can't get them to shut up. These are like the loudmouth ratchet girls. These are the people who always got something to say. These are the people where literally God only knows the next thing that's going to come out of their mouths. They can also be extremely argumentative. Not to mention, Gemini is one of the signs of the contrarians. So these are people, when they speak, a lot of times they tend to intentionally go against the grain or say things that could really rub people the wrong way because they're bored, honestly, or just to deviate from whatever the standard norm is. A lot of people associate that trait with Aquarius, and that is true to a degree, but Geminis don't get the recognition that they deserve for being staunch contrarians, okay? And the ones that are ratchet, it's all about going bigger, being louder, seeing how much you can really say that really like shakes the table and rattles people's spirits. And for them, it's literally all fun and games. So they'll be the type of people that'll have the people around them vexed, feeling annoyed, right? And they're laughing because this is literally, they're doing this because they're probably bored, or they're doing this just to seek some type of attention or just to even keep the conversation going. They want to keep you talking. They want to keep you talking about them. Gemini is also one of those signs that play too much, so they can take a joke too far. And when you add all of these attributes together, when we're talking about a ratchet person, you can't take these people anywhere, okay? They will embarrass you. If you're dealing with a bunch of ratchet people and they have prominent Gemini placements, these will be the ratchets of the ratchets, the grand ratchet, the final ratchet master that you got to beat at the end of the video game, right? The final Ratchet boss. That's how Ratchet Geminis can be. And a really good example of this from a celebrity perspective is Shekinah Joe. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she actually is really good friends with T.I.'s wife, Tiny Tamika Harris. And she has been on their show, their reality show, The Family Hustle. And then I believe she and Tiny had their own show together. And then she eventually went on to become a part of the Atlanta Love and Hip Hop cast. So, I mean, loud. We're talking loud, ridiculous. And some people either really like her, others really dislike her. But Shekinah Joe is Shekinah Joe. And you can always count on her to tell you how she feels. Even when she sounds stupid, she was the same person upset because people were rioting Gucci back during the summer. She caught a lot of flack for that. She's always very vocal about how she feels. And she's not quite right in the head. And sure enough, when I looked up her chart, she's a Gemini sun, moon, and Venus, with her sun and Venus conjunct Chiron in Gemini as well. These are people who, I mean, quite honestly, may be a little slow, not quite right, but it adds to this element, this energy of her not being able to control herself. She's allowed now.
I always trying to put a motherfucker down ass bitches. I don't fuck with y'all bitches, and I just want y'all to know that. You're fake. Yes, bitch, my booty is fake. It was fake, ho. I wouldn't got the ass shots out. So why you trying to comfort me, Pooh? My life is an open book. I let everybody know when I did the ass, and I let everybody know when I went and got the ass shots took out. So, girl, what are you talking about, girl? Girl, who are you talking to? Oh, okay, shut up, bitch.
The second most ratchet sign of the zodiac is Aquarius. Yes, that's right, Aquarius. Very similar to Gemini, as stated before. These are people who can be your contrarians, all right? Meaning that they just naturally operate from a headspace that allows them to do things that are just contrary to whatever the status quo is. In fact, they actually prefer it. And unlike Gemini, which tends to resort to these things out of boredom, right? Or maybe every now and then wanting to add a little spice, Aquarius, they like the attention. They thrive off of the attention. And because Aquarius is the opposing sign of Leo, much like Leos, they do thrive off of attention. They can be attention whores. However, unlike Leo, which tends to like more positive attention, Aquarius will get the attention any way they can. So this is why these are people who, if Leo represents the famous person, right? The person who walks around and relishes in their own fame, Aquarius would be the more infamous person, right? The person that people could either really like, once again, or really hate. These are people who can be known to resort to some just really low brow, gutter, crazy ass, low vibrational shit just to get a rise and a shock from other people. Aquarius is the sign of shock values. They can be shock jocks. They have a sense of humor that, you either really like or you don't, because they can make very inappropriate jokes. Okay, they tend to laugh at the most inopportune times, or, they'll be the type of people to like do things where it's like, how could you think that was funny? Like, nobody else is laughing at that, which is one of those traits that definitely run parallel with ratchet behavior. When it comes to their mouths, they are some of the most crass, crude, and vulgar individuals around. Nobody will cuss you under the table like an Aquarius, okay? Even in the way that they describe stuff, you'll sit back and even the most like seasoned cusser will be like, oh my God, like, wow, like, I thought I cussed a lot, but okay. Or just the way they describe stuff, right? Very graphic, everything is just void of a certain level of taste. It's just very raw, very raunchy, very just in your face with it, which could also be very, very ratchet, or at least very ratchet adjacent. Aquarius is the anything goes type of ratchet, which also makes a lot of sense given that we are currently in the age of Aquarius. Saturn just re-entered Aquarius, and then Uranus is in Taurus, right? Uranus, of course, co-rules Aquarius. And just as a society on a collective level, we are noticing the mainstream and normalization of very ratchet behavior, very wild, abnormal, shocking behavior where a lot of people, a lot of traditional quote unquote morals and values are being flipped on its heads, right? Twerking is becoming the mainstream, right? Women talking about they wops. Now, mind you, this is void of my own personal opinion. You can have whatever opinion you want on it in terms of whether it being good or bad or anything in between. But the sheer fact of the matter is this is very Aquarian in nature. So when we're talking about ratchet people, Aquarians could be, right up in the thick of it. Okay, the lowest, dirtiest, most wildest ratchet people. It's also worth mentioning that Aquarius is one of the signs of the exhibitionist, and very similar to its opposing sign Leo. Once again, it thrives off of letting everything hang out. So being ratchet in and of itself isn't enough when it comes to Aquarius. They have to showcase it. Whatever it is that they're into, whatever hang-ups and quirks that they have, they put them on full display. That's why you tend to associate Aquarius and Leo with nudism, right? And people who just tend to let it all hang out, which is the epitome of ratchetness, right? Without any type of couth, without any type of concern for modesty or taste and things like that. So I guess it's safe to call Aquarius the proud ratchet, okay? The shameless ratchet. Okay, I'm ratchet, and what of it, honey? I'm gonna let my freak flag fly. What's tea? All right? You will never be able to shame these people into submission. It doesn't work like that. Now, a good example of a ratchet Aquarius on a celebrity level, of course, y'all already know what's coming. Meg the Stallion. All right? Meg the Stallion, who is, very Aquarian in nature. I would argue a dark-sided Aquarius, but that's a different video for a different day. She essentially had her rise to fame. Yes, she's a good rapper. I'm not going to take that from her. But a part of her package was that she was overtly sexual, right? And she appealed to this state of being where, these are women who are not afraid to twerk in public. She made many videos, especially when she was like underground and coming up on the scene where she would twerk in public, utilizing social media to really put a lot of her stunts and stuff like that on display, being very scantily clad, very loud, very, aggressive and abrasive in her approach and just the way that she carried herself and dealing with men. Another example of the more ratchet brand of Aquarius is Miami from the City Girls. Period. Okay? She's one of those ratchets where, she's going to say what she says. And a lot of times, once again, her opinions, her thoughts on things, the way she carries herself tends to rub people the wrong way. But she's very unapologetic about it. Okay? Now, the third most ratchet sign of the zodiac, I had to get Sagittarius on up in there, okay? Yes, Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the opposing sign to Gemini. And as many of you may know, the thing with opposing signs, right, the opposite polarities, is that, yes, they may be very different in these very overtly contrasting kind of ways, right? But they still share a thread of commonality that binds them together, the yin and yang of the elements, so to speak. And so very similar to Gemini, Sagittarians and people with very prominent Sagittarius placements, these are people who also lack filters. In fact, Sagittarius is known for their bluntness, right? For their lack of tact as well, specifically when it comes to sharing how they feel, right? Their thoughts, their opinions. They can also be extremely loud and extremely playful. These are also people who can be extremely animated. Everything they do is going to be larger than life, even when they're reenacting stuff. So very similar to Gemini, and I guess you would say everybody on this list. It's kind of hard to be in public with a ratchet Sagittarius, okay? And as a Sagittarius myself, I don't necessarily think that I'm ratchet, but I know I can have my moments. Like most people, we're multifaceted and so on and so forth. And I remember when I was younger, I used to be one of those people. You can't take me nowhere. You kind of still can't. It just depends. I have discernment. But when I was younger, I used to be the type, when I'm laughing and joking with my friends, I will fall out of my chair. I will fall out of my chair to illustrate how funny a given joke is, right? I'll fall out of my chair, be on the ground. We'll be in public. You'll have waiters if we're in a restaurant, or other people just looking like, what the hell is going on here? But that is the epitome of the ratchet Sagittarius. Not just anything goes, but it's more so of I'm willing to be as grand and as over the top and even obnoxious as possible, especially if it serves my purpose, because Sagittarians are the comedians of the Zodiac. And once again, they tend to be extremely playful. They like to exaggerate a lot. And so everything that they do, from their mannerisms, to the way that they speak, everything could just be, just big. And once again, some people really enjoy that and are entertained by that. And other people just are not pleased. They're not pleased. They're not impressed, and they can really do without it. Sagittarius is buck wild. And a really good example of the ratchet Sagittarius, which, as you have seen in the slides, of course, is going to be Nicki Minaj. Now, I don't necessarily think she, once again, is ratchet all across the board, but she has those moments where she could definitely play up a lot of those ratchet qualities, right? She can be the embodiment of the quintessential ratchet Sagittarius. But another one is Sweetie. Okay, Sweetie is a Cancer sun, but she's also a Sagittarius moon. And although I have said numerous times that I feel like she is overplaying that ratchet role, which actually lends to the essence of Sagittarius, right? Exaggeration, right? I do think she has a lot of those traits about herself, but she probably leans into them super hard to kind of OD and give you this effect of like the ultimate super ratchet girl. But, you can kind of tell in the way that she carries herself as well. She's very charismatic, but she can just kind of do the most. Like when she goes on live and makes all these like hood struggle meals, it's like, girl, you're a whole millionaire talking about Birkins, eating like prison meals, or wearing the super long nails, and, just how she talks, and, twerking, and even when she gets drunk. And that's another thing too. When we're talking about the Sagittarius ratchet, we're talking about the ones that, even if they are seemingly normal, get them drunk. If there is alcohol involved, these are the bitches who will be standing on the sofa, making toy guns, making the little gun gestures with their hands, waving it around in your face, okay? These are the out of control ratchet drunks. Some of them can even get angry, right? So these are the people who get drunk and like the fight, all right? They can kind of get out of control. And I do believe Sweetie fits that description, okay? Get her nice and drunk and see what happens.
Wonder what is going on inside their head.
Now, coming in at number 4, in the most ratchet signs of the Zodiac, would have to be Virgo. And I know some of you out there are thinking, Virgo? Yes, Virgo. Yes, Virgo. Now, Virgos are one of those signs where you do have the Virgos who are a lot more reserved, a lot more self-contained. I would even say maybe kind of dry, robotic, hyper fixated on etiquette. But I'm more so referring to like the dark side Virgos, okay? The dark sided Virgos. Typically, the Virgos that mentally kind of aren't all the way there, these can be some of the most egregious individuals to surround yourself with. And God forbid, if they are ratchet, they will take the ratchetry to another level. Like I'm talking about, it knows no bounds. Because once again, I cannot stress enough that a lot of these people may not be all the way there in the head. And this also goes for Gemini as well. But the ratchet Virgo is the professional screw up. So just like you have the more stereotypical depiction of Virgo, who is like super well put together, like I said, very overly concerned about their appearance, image, everything has to be just right. The ratchet Virgo, the unstable Virgo, these people, I mean, they walk around and they fuck shit up and they leave. All right. Even if they're just trying to help, they come in and then they screw shit up. They are often agents of chaos. And a really good example of this to just, I mean, really, after I give this example, we can just move on to the next point because it's really all encompassing. Sky from the Black Ink crew, New York. Oh my God.
All the niggas want her, she just out here living her motherfucking life like what? She's popping like that. Just popping. My underarms stank, baby. Whoa, them shit just dabbing on the bitch. Yeah, I'm about to get off this.
She started off on the show as being Caesar's assistant, which is actually very Virgo. That's a very Virgo job. Virgos are the assistants of the Zodiac. And instead of doing what Virgos are supposed to do and making the shop a more organized and functional place to work, this lady really, once again, incited chaos and confusion. Black Ink was already known for being a fight club, but I mean, like, Sky took it to just a completely different level. She was just all over the place. And when it also comes to ratchet Virgos, very similar to the ratchet Sagittarians, they can also be like heavy on the bottle, heavy on the sauce. All right. When you get the dark sided or the ratchet Virgo, a little sleaze, they can even be pill poppers too. Quiet as it's kept. And when inebriated, they can, I mean, turn into these out of control Tasmanian devils. A lot of them are very psychotic, once again, which definitely supports, a lot of like the more ratchet Virgos being mentally disturbed. They can also be extremely preachy and the type of people to make mountains out of molehills. You know, the type of ratchet people where something goes down, something they don't like happens that other people may not find to be that big of a deal, and they'll take that little thing they don't like about somebody or a particular thing that happened and exploit it and blow it up out of proportion. And then finally, last but of course not least, the fifth most ratchet sign of the zodiac is Aries. Yes, Aries. Very similar to the other fire signs, Aries, especially if we're talking about women, can exude very ratchet qualities because Aries is such a raw and uncut type of sign, similar to a lot of the other signs that made this list. Aries, especially the women, are known for being extremely blunt, for being extremely crass as well. They can also be extremely vulgar, extremely just overtly forward, especially if we're talking about sexually. So if I had to categorize the ratchet Aries, it would probably be the promiscuous type of ratchet, but also the aggressive ratchet, right? The fighter, because we always have to lump Aries into that warrior type of energy, right? These are people who can be very quick-tempered and quick-natured. So when you combine that and place these attributes inside of a ratchet person, I mean, you really don't know what you're going to get. They could be just as unpredictable as your Aquarius or Gemini ratchet. These are people who are here for a good time and not a long time, baby. So they'll be down to party. They'll be down to turn up. But if anything goes awry, they will get lost in the moment, okay? They will fight. They're not scared of a fight, honey. But these are also the ratchets who are not afraid to play up a lot of their smuttiness either. And they tend to make really bad decisions. A lot of the ratchet Aries make really, really bad decisions. And so they could be extremely self-destructive in that regard. These can be some of the most reckless and just uncontrollable ratchets, and very similar to Aquarius, they often tend to lead with their ratchetness. So you can see them coming from a mile away, and they're just very upfront about it. Take it or leave it, unapologetic about their ratchetness, which could also kind of put people off, because before they have some time to warm up to you, it's like, well, hello, you know. For a lot of people, that can be taken as being very abrasive, and it could also just kind of be hard to really, you know, swallow. They can be a big pill to swallow. And a really good example of some celebrities with this Aries energy who just so happen to be ratchet. Number one, Cardi B. Okay, she's a Libra sun, but she's an Aries moon. And yes, I mean, need I say more? Her whole brand was the ratchetness. Okay, that was literally her entire brand. And I think she met both criteria in terms of like the super promiscuous, edgy, right? Aries ratchet, where it's like, okay, very provocative. She had this brand around being a stripper. She's very immersed in her sexuality, very comfortable with her sexuality as well. But then also, she is very aggressive. She's one of those Aries women, those Aries ratchets that will cause a scene, that will fight, that will literally dive headfirst into whatever is going around. And it's almost like you really don't know what to expect from her. You know, these are people who are quick to pop off. Anytime you bring them anywhere, the climate can just go either way. The Aries ratchets also tend to have a lot of enemies as well. So these are your problematic ratchets. And they tend to be the type to get shit started, right? The ones to pop off first. And then, you know, they get all the other ratchets to kind of follow behind them. Now, another good example of this ratchet Aries on a celebrity level is Tammy Roman from Basketball Wives, especially when she first got on the show. Everything from her smoking them cigarettes to drinking that beer and them ill-fitted wigs, honey. I mean, just her demeanor, everything about her was very raw, very ratchet. So much so that a lot of the other women on the show kind of looked down on her. And she was one of those ratchets where, you know, take her or leave her. She was very upfront about how she felt about stuff. She could even be a bully at times, which is also quintessential Aries when it comes to like the Aries ratchet. Cardi B isn't above bullying people either, but once again, different story for a different day. And when it came down to Tammy, right, once it's up, it's stuck. She down for whatever. One of those ratchets with the hair trigger temper. So yeah, this concludes my list of the most ratchet signs of the zodiac. Y'all feel free to hop in the comment section and let me know what you thought, okay? Are there any other people that you would have liked to see make the list? And do you know any people personally with some of these placements who meet some of these descriptions? So yeah, y'all make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And until the next video, I holla.